Good evening, America. Welcome back to Power to Thrive. We have another blockbuster episode. I'm your buddy, D. Wizzle. I'm here with Cliff Bodger. And let's hit the subscribe button. Before we even get started, America, you know the routine. Give me 20 subscribers on this episode. What's the topic today, Cliff?
Yeah, we're going to talk about what it looks like when a country actually gives a crap about its citizens. What that looks like versus what it looks like when a country only cares about profit and the GDP and doesn't care about its citizens. So what it looks like when a country absolutely doesn't care about its people, you have to look no further than the United States. Basically, the federal minimum wage is $7.25. And the average person, their effective wages for the last 50 years, when normalized to inflation, which means their actual buying power, has been going down for the last 50 years. It means that you are better off 50 years ago than you are today. But when you look at the ultra rich, like the Jeff Bezos and the Elon Musk and the Bill Gateses, their wealth has skyrocketed over the last 50 years, many, many times what they were back then. So while they're getting steadily richer, the average person is doing worse and worse, because all the money is going to the ultra rich. So what it looks like in a country that gives a crap, you have to look no further than China. Not everything they do is good, but in the case of supporting their average citizen, the average citizen in China was in abject poverty 50 years ago. And now the average citizen in China is doing better than we are 50 years later. Their wages have quadrupled in the last 50 years or more. They're making 4 times more than they were. We're making less than we were, effectively, when you count inflation into the picture, which means that you can buy less food now than you could 50 years ago, working the same job. 50 years ago, you could actually talk about buying a house and having it paid off in a reasonable amount of time. Now, the average person can't even think about buying a house. It takes 2 people or 3 people in the family all pulling just to buy a house, and then you're getting ripped off with the interest payments and you're having to go into debt for 30, 40 years to do it. The whole thing makes no sense. This is what it looks like when the government and the governance doesn't care about the people. It's extractive. It's exploiting the people.
So, listen. So, in America, if you don't have skills or if you don't have some type of degree or whatever, you basically stuck with making $7.25, which is damn near starving.
That's right. And so I guess the main thing is they institute this American exceptionalism idea and American pride, like we're really doing something special, and the average person getting straight up screwed. This is a failed state at this point. We need to look at this for what it is and say, okay, we need to fix it. What can we do to fix this situation? Because this is a exploitative failed state and we're all getting screwed. People need to quit walking around delusional with their heads stuck in their stupid phones thinking that everything's okay, and it's not. This trend of getting worse over the last 50 years, it's not going to stop. You think this is just going to miraculously turn around? It's going to keep getting worse until people stand up and say, okay, that's enough, and start shutting stuff down and say, you know what, this is not working out for us, so we're going to put our foot down. Because if 5 or 10% of the population quit playing the game, it'll grind everything to a halt, and they'll be forced to do something. And when I say they, the ultra-rich and the big corporations and the government that they now control.
Let's talk about this. You from China, Japan, whichever one, right? And all of a sudden you say, you know what? I think I'm going to go to the United States. You come here, for an example, go down Bel Air, and the whole entire damn street is damn near foreign. You got China, all the writings, they got their own signs, they own companies, and it's only specifically for their particular race or whatever the case may be. But you couldn't get up, Cliff, and say, okay, you know what, I think I'm going to go to China and start a business and see if, how successful you could be. That's not going to happen. But you can come here to the United States, but we can't go up there.
More and more, they don't want to come here. If they do come here, it's just to go and buy real estate as an investment, stuff like that. This used to be the land of opportunity, but now we went from being number 1 as far as opportunity in business to being something like number 58, and we're sinking rapidly because this is no good for business here anymore. Nobody's supporting this entrepreneurial spirit that we used to have. And for years they kept saying, oh, small business, but in reality, go to the bank and try to get a loan for small business. You're not going to get nothing.
No.
And then look at every time something happens, like a hurricane or a pandemic, all the small businesses are decimated. You drive down the street and every other shop is boarded up. And those shops never come back. And where's it going? Big players, Amazon, Walmart, all the big players. So all over America, they've favored big mega corporations and been shutting down small businesses. So this whole idea, this idealistic thing of America being the land of small business and opportunity, that's long gone.
Okay, let me ask you something. With that being said, so what do we call our government then?
So they call it a democracy, but it's actually a plutocracy or a kleptocracy. Plutocracy is where plutocrats or the ultra-rich are running everything. And a kleptocracy is like kleptomaniac, somebody that constantly steals. Mm-hmm. So basically where psychopathic thieves are running everything. So you can look at the head of these corporations as being plutocrats or kleptocrats, whatever you want to call them. It's all the same thing. The public is looked at as something to exploit. And so in these other countries, and I just use China as an example, but there's many other countries. Pick any one of these countries that's in the 58 countries that are better for supporting small businesses and small and entrepreneurial activity. Look at any one of those, and their government supports people. They're actually worrying about whether the population is doing okay. In the United States, it's just lip service. And I'm not saying this to be negative. I'm just saying that if people don't wake up, this is just going to keep getting worse and worse. So it pains me to see this. And step one, as far as doing something about it, is for everybody to wake up and quit buying into this illusion that this is a land of opportunity. It used to be, it's not now though. And start saying, okay, if they're screwing everybody and this is a land of exploitation, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to turn this ship around? And so that's my point for, it's not to be negative. My point is to wake up and see this as what it really is, and then be able to say, what do we need to do to turn the ship around? Makes no sense.
Listen, so earlier we was talking about the minimum wage. If you make a minimum wage, $7.25, now we got the tariff to deal with. Tell me something. How in the hell are you supposed to make it?
You're not. And until people start rising up, that's what happened. During the Great Depression, there was a lot of people that came back from World War I, and they promised them that they were going to take care of them and do right by them because these people put their life on the line to fight for the U.S. during World War I. And when they came back, what they do, they just totally threw them under the bus. And you had ultra-rich back then were the Carnegies and the Rockefellers and all this. They were hoarding wealth. And the plight of the average person was dismal. And during the Great Depression, when the stock market crashed because of all the wealth hoarding, people were doing so badly that veterans that came back from World War I that knew how to organize, they went to Washington and they were getting ready to march on the Capitol and basically dismantle the place. And so the president at that time, FDR, he had meetings with all of the ultra-rich. And he told them, look, these people are serious. You've put them in such a bad position where they're marching now, and they're going to come after you. And you better come to an agreement where we're going to do a deal with these people to start employing people, and you just can't keep hoarding all the wealth. And so he said, either you do a deal, and it turned into the New Deal, what was called the New Deal. Either you do the deal, or I'm just going to tell the people that you won't work with us, and they're going to come after you. And they're going to go French on you is what they're going to do. And going French, that has to do with the French Revolution. In the French Revolution, the ultra-rich, they just pushed it too far. And they exploited, and the people were doing so bad, they finally came after the ultra-rich. They came marching for the ultra-rich with pitchforks and guillotines, and they were going to chop their heads off. The population got into fights about who was going to do this. And they went into these mansions and got the ultra-rich, and they were pulling them in different directions, and they literally pulled their arms and legs out of the sockets.
Wow.
Fighting over who was going to stick them in the guillotine. That's how much they hated these people. And so when you hear the expression, go French, it has to do with the French Revolution and what the French did to the ultra-rich during that time period. FDR told I don't know if they were using the term go French at that point, But basically, that's what he meant. He told the ultra-rich, you need to reconcile. You need to agree to huge amounts of money going to this New Deal to employ people, where the federal government employed millions of people and put them to work. And they actually built the entire U.S. highway system. And they built a lot of the other huge public works projects, like Hoover Dam and Grand Coulee Dam and all this stuff. And it was done because of the New Deal. And to pay for it, the ultra-rich had to agree to up to a 90% taxation rate. So finally, the ultra-rich had to pay their fair share for once. And during the period of the Great New Deal, the prosperity for the average person in the United States went up and up. It kept going up until the 1970s. And then the ultra-rich said, okay, we're tired of paying all these taxes. We don't want to pay any taxes anymore. We want it to be like it used to be. And so they started paying lobbyists and politicians to undo the Great New Deal and roll back all the benefits to the people. And the benefits have been rolling back ever since the 70s. So ever since the 70s, the plight of the average people in the United States has been getting worse and worse because the ultra-rich have been clawing back their money and clawing back their ability to exploit the population. The population had it good for a while in the 70s, so they forgot about everything. And a new generation of people came and they didn't know about these stories and nobody talked about them. And so the public has been asleep at the wheel ever since the 70s, and they've been letting the ultra-rich sneak in all this legislation to erode the plight of the average person, to make it worse and worse in every way for the average person so that the ultra-rich can hoard more and more of the total wealth. Now we're at a point like before the Great Depression. It's getting bad. The homeless situation is getting bad. Everything else is getting bad. And it's steadily getting worse because the U.S. population has been asleep at the wheel and let it happen. And the ultra-rich, they don't sleep. They're continuously cranking down, ratcheting down, click, click, click on everybody else. And now you got 3 or 4 people in the United States have more wealth than the bottom 50% of the entire population. What sense does that make? That's greed and hoarding. But the general public, they celebrate these ultra-rich like they're rock stars. Run around celebrating their own poverty, basically, because that money comes from the average person. So they didn't make new money. Anybody that says they did, that's a lie. So now what we're going into is, if anybody's seen the movie Hunger Games, that's what we're going into if we don't stop this. We're going to end up with Hunger Games. And that'll be what our lifestyle will be like. We'll be living like they depicted in the movie Hunger Games. So this needs to be stopped. Because if it isn't stopped now, it'll be so far out of control where it can't be stopped.
Listen, so if you sit at a table with the ultra-rich and you explain to them, oh, hey, we're struggling, all this, that, and other, that's like speaking a foreign language to them. Because they don't know a damn thing about struggling.
Yeah, I think the terminology that's used some of the time by the ultra-rich is useless eaters. That's what they call the population, is useless eaters. And so if there was some way that they could commit a genocide, my gut feeling is they would, because we're just an irritation to them. And so they think they have the God-given right. They think it's like Darwinian survival of the fittest, basically, and that the entire population can be reduced to living in squalor. They are cunning enough or psychopathic enough to hoard all the wealth. They're like gods or kings or something in their mind. And we're just irritating, useless eaters. And if something happened to us, like we got poisoned or whatever, that would just be a convenient thing. Or a pandemic. Imagine that. Can't see that one coming, can you?
Man.
Yep. Gee, a convenient pandemic that kills half the population.
Any final thoughts?
Yeah, people might think that's a harsh outlook, but it's a matter of looking at the trend. They didn't have any problem having their wealth increase and increase while our wealth is going down and down and down. So if you play this out and you see where it's going, they're not going to stop, is the thing. So wake up. They are not going to stop. This is going to keep going, and we're going to start looking like some kind of third world country.
We better act fast. America, we just gave you actual factual. I hope you was listening. Tune in, hit the subscribe button, go to the comments, let us know what you think. We see you in the next episode.